So as can see here, I'm not using drywall screws, and normally I don't use drywall screws, and you're not supposed to use drywall screws because they break. But as I was putting this one in, as I was getting them off, three of them actually busted on this piece. It is so lopsided by weight that you can see here it's just rocking my wood lathe, and I had to slow it down, and I could only do it when I first started here at about 200, and it was still rocking a little bit. So I just kept it really slow, and I am just trying to get it round to try to get some balance here. And but it is the whole time it was lopsided and bucked around. And actually, my daughter, I have a daughter who's 17, and I'm trying to get her to watch some of the classic movies. And while I was watching this one, the way it was bucking around, I thought, hey, it kind of reminded me of a movie called 8 Seconds, where Lane Frost is trying to ride a bull named Bodacious, and he had to ride it for 8 seconds. Obviously, that's what you do in bull riding. But just reminded me of that movie, so I thought that would be a good movie for us to watch together, because this thing just bucked me around all over the place. And so I actually got this piece of wood when my brother, he got a bandsaw mill just a little while ago, and a lady had a apricot tree that was getting pretty rotten, so she wanted it cut down. And so he went and cut it down and slabbed it into pieces. I got a really great slab out of it, but he also got this crotch piece that had, it actually had like 3 or 4 different branches coming out of it, and that's what this piece is from. But because it had different things all around, it was pretty, like the weight all the way around until I get it leveled out is was causing this to rattle quite a bit. But I also found out, that didn't help out a lot, that there was, my floor is a little bit uneven, and something had gotten underneath one of the spots, which was causing it to shake even more, so making me having to go even slower. So this took a long time getting this thing just rounded up to how I wanted it. Now in a little bit you'll see that I try to use my bull gouge, and I am just not very good with it. So I stuck with carbide tools on most of this, and I'm also using a tenon on this one. And this is my first time using a tenon. Usually I do a mortise, and so this is I've kind of been told that, hey, that tenon is not big enough, you need to use a bigger tenon. But I just made it the size of the jaws that I had. Here I'm using my bull gouge, and I must be doing it wrong. I need to really take a class and learn a little bit, learn definitely some more. So I just went right back to the carbide tools on the outside of this thing. But yeah, I'm aware that I need to have this this tenon a little bit bigger. But boy, you can really see the grain and all the other stuff that is coming out of this wood when I do slow it down and stop. So I had no idea what the kind of shape that I wanted, so I just kind of started going, and I ended up having this round bowl, well, not straight on the sides, but round on the sides, and just kind of went from there. Then with the carbide tool now, I'm just trying to get rid of some of my gouges that I did when I used that bowl gouge. But yeah, you can see all that different color that's in there when it stops for real quick. And then because these screws, it actually broke when I took them off. I had to go pretty wide on here, and so I'm just trying to narrow it down, get down to the bottom when I'm doing the inside. The way this bowl is, that's cupped shape here, it holds all the sawdust and the chips inside. So none of the sawdust chips were flying out. Anytime that you started to do just a little bit, it started to just pack in there as soon as you had it going at all. So here, I know I'm not supposed to do this, but that was pretty loose, and it kind of even wiggled, so I just tapped it a little bit with my hammer to break off that end. But it was wiggling a little bit while I was taking it on and off, so I figured this would be a good time. But I know that I'm supposed to take the bowl off to do it first, but I guess next time I better follow my own instructions. But yeah, as soon as you stop this, you can just see that the wood chips are just right up against the edge. So doing the back is okay, but once you start doing the sides a little bit, you're cutting through the wood chips are kind of there a little bit. So each time you stop it, the wood chips are right there. So I'm just trying to get the edge a little bit because I do have some scuffs. Now this had a lot of cracks on it, and cracks all over the place, all the way around it. So I actually took a router, and I took my Dremel tool, and I kind of made the cracks a little bit bigger so that they would accept some epoxy. And so I'm going to go ahead and put a little bit of epoxy on it, and you'll see as I put this in the mess that I make for sure. All right, so I kind of decided on this copper color, and just got to make sure it's mixed up good. So I put the bowl, you can see how here I use the Dremel tool to kind of router out some of these cracks. And then I just kind of put this in, and then I thought, oh, I'll just put some tape. It'll hold it right where I want it to go. So I put some tape down there, work my way around, filling in some of these cracks with this epoxy, and every now and then I would use my little heat gun to pop all the bubbles. But you can see the epoxy is just kind of going, obviously, wherever it wants to go, even with the tape on it. So I made a gigantic mess. So after I get done doing this, I taped it up like crazy. I put it back onto the wood lathe and got all the extra epoxy off, and this is kind of where I was sitting at here. So you see it did pretty good, but it does have some more, it's missed a bunch of places here, and then I found this other crack, so I kind of took the Dremel to that too, and gonna fill them up again. So I went back through, filled all the cracks one more time, and this time I kind of left it a little bit longer. I did just smaller amounts on each one, and it seemed to hold the cracks. But here you see lots of small, thin little cracks that were all around on the top. So I just kind of smeared it in and rubbed it into all these places as best as I could. So I actually put this back under the wood lathe, ran it through again, and then I even put one more layer of epoxy on it, trying to get all the holes filled. And I know there's got to be a better way, but this is my first time doing one of these, so I made a lot of mistakes. So once I got it onto the wood lathe where I was kind of happy with it, I went ahead and did a whole bunch of sanding. So I started here actually with 80 grit on the side, trying to get this nice and smooth all the way around. Then I'm going to go ahead and jump all the way up to, I want to say I did up to 300. Then once I get all the way up to 300, I actually used those micro mesh and wet sanded this. I didn't record all of that, but I did use those micro mesh, getting it all the way up to the ones on Rockler come with. Was it 20,000 grit or something? And once I got the outside kind of done, I started working on the inside. So I have this pretty cool little tool here. It helped me out a ton. Again, I started with some 80 grit, and I actually cut sandpaper with the Velcro on them, and worked my way up to about 300, and then I started to do the micro mesh on the inside as well, getting it so that epoxy is nice and clear. Yeah, I like this tool. I'm just kind of getting used to it, but it does a pretty good job. I know other people use that on their channels too, and it always seems to get pretty high marks. Alright, so I did still have some tear out on the inside, so I'm going to try something I've never done before. I'm going to turn it way down, and I'm going to just touch these tear out spots with my card scraper, and you can see the tiny hairs that are coming off of there, and it did phenomenal. But I really was apprehensive about putting my hand inside this bowl with this card scraper, but it really took care of all those those tear outs that I had before, and polished up that epoxy really well too. And then I did not show putting on my finish, but I used the Deft clear finish again, and here you can see what it looks like when it's on the wood lathe with the first coat on it. That color just popped fantastically, and you can see where all the branches and everything else has just this small little bit of live edge on the corner, but the inside looked great. And you can see how that epoxy matched pretty well. Then I have to put my brand on the back of it. And call it good. So here it is. My wife loves it. She thinks it's probably one of her favorite ones, so we're debating on whether to give it up for a birthday present or to keep it. I'm sure she's going to end up keeping it and put it in with our other 70, well, not 70, but a ton of bowls that we have made. All right, thank everybody so much for watching, and have a great day.